Your assets. Don't use your car or your house. Start with a free assessment today.
Free assessment. Maybe there's hope after all.
DCGsa, award-winning debt assistance since 2009. Call DCGsa today, 086 100 1047.
This is what I need. It's time to make that call.
Yes, indeed, and it might be time for you to make that call, like I say every week. Welcome back to Money Matters right here on Link FM. Today we're discussing something, and I mentioned this earlier, it might be affecting you right now, okay? Debt, stress, and the question is there actually a way out? Let's find out. Joining me in studio, as always, Casper Lagrange from DCGsa. Casper, always good having you with us. How are you?
Thanks, Mr. K. Always a privilege, nice to communicate to our community and educate them also. And you're right, people are very confused, especially because of past systems, like, for example, administration.
So, Casper, I've heard people say, I don't want to go under debt review because I'll pay forever and a day. Where does that come from?
That's exactly the misunderstanding. I think people get so overwhelmed of what everybody else says, they don't want to figure it out themselves. Or people get caught on misleading things, they get signed up and they don't proceed right and they don't know how to get out, and the negative goes from there. But then one of the things that we come across a lot, especially in the Eastern Cape. In the past, administration orders only reduced monthly payments. So the interest rates stayed. So people were paying whatever they could afford, in essence. So let's say you were paying 5,000 Rand a month. Now you're only paying 500 Rand, but the interest is maybe 3,000 Rand a month. So you're not even covering the interest. So what happened? People paid for years. Interest kept growing, and in some cases the fees alone were 40 to 50% of the actual installment, which was, the bad taste it left in people's mouths, if I can put it that way. And it felt like they were paying forever. They could never get out of this thing.
So then, Casper, debt review is different. How?
So, in essence, yes, the consumer pays less,
Yeah.
but we can't pay less than what interest is. So in debt review, a debt counselor can actually renegotiate interest rates. So we can reduce interest rates by consent of the credit provider, and then we restructure the payments. Now, that payments that we restructure can't be paid into forever. There needs to be a timeline. And actually, there's case law that says within a reasonable period. So yes, reasonable period is still up for debate, but there's actually a timeline. So once the order is granted, there's a timeline. This is your installment. As long as you pay accordingly, this is roughly how long in months it's going to take to finish. And that also is not your jail sentence. Why? When things improve, you can up your payment, reduce the term. So when you actually reduce the interest rates, and let's say you reduce it from 21% to 10%, what does that actually mean for the consumer in his monthly installment? More goes towards the capital. When more goes towards the capital, the faster you actually pay off your debt. So more goes there actually to reduce your debt than what is going to interest. And that is a big difference between administration and debt counseling.
But then, guess what? I can hear somebody say, are these reductions just, made up? I mean, how does that even work?
So that's a good question. These are formal agreements with credit providers and lenders, okay? The process is regulated under the National Credit Act. So I actually renegotiate directly with the credit provider. I have the power to do so within the National Credit Act. And it's 100% legal. So when we go to court, the consumer doesn't go. We only get an affidavit from the consumer, and we actually restructure the original agreements. So the courts recognize the process and the agreements that are put in place and makes those agreements actually in order. So that is why your timelines and your interest rates actually appears on a debt review order. Remember, in the olden days when consumers paid, administration orders was just an order saying they are now under admin and the payment goes towards the administrator, because they couldn't put timelines to it, because sometimes the installment didn't even cover the interest. So you are not running away from your debt when you're under this process. You are actually repaying it, and repaying it responsibly. That was the idea of the Act. The Act says debt counseling is there for the consumer who wants to pay their debt but currently can't afford to. They can't afford either to live or to repay back their debt once all their credit providers are paid. So this is such a wonderful way to actually pay back your debt. And when it's all done, you are clear, you can apply for debt again, be it a home loan or a vehicle or whatever it is.
Okay, fantastic. Now, Casper, this is the part people really want to know. What about repossession?
Well, if they follow the process correctly, it is so critical that once you're under this process, your payments still need to be made. Doesn't mean you can now just stop paying everybody. As long as your payments are up to date, in line with the court order, and the process is followed, you receive legal protection. Nobody can repossess your assets. In fact, your arrears even gets restructured under this process. So whatever arrears you had before you approached the debt counselor, that gets restructured into the period, and you start afresh. You start a clean slate under this process. So no, your car won't be repossessed. It will be protected as long as your payments are in line with your court order. No, your house will not be repossessed. It is protected as long as your payments are in line with your order. But it is important to note that timing matters. If you wait too long, so if there is already legal action before you approach a debt counselor, I can't protect that specific account. And that is sometimes what people make the mistake with. They wait too long. And the longer you wait, the less options you have. The sooner you come, the quicker one can put a plan in place and protect those assets that you ultimately actually want to protect.
Now, people sitting at home thinking maybe things will get better, what would you like to say to them, Casper?
I would say this very honestly. This time next year, you will either be still wondering when things will improve, or you'll be well on your way to becoming debt-free. Every time there's an up and a down, there's always going to be positive. And that's wonderful of being human, is we have this hope. But sometimes we hang on too long on the hope without taking responsibility. We also need to take responsibility together with hope. So ask yourself the question, do you still want to be wondering when things will improve? Or do we actually want to know, I've done something to become debt-free? And the difference is, one decision is to actually start. Once you start, the sooner you can finish.
Speaking of starting, Casper, what's the first step? Because I think that's where people really feel overwhelmed.
I think, Mr. K, the first step to anything, especially when it comes to finances, is to assess where you are. So we offer a financial obligation-free financial assessment. So it won't sign you up for anything. It will tell you what's going on right now, what's happening on your credit check, what's happening to your accounts, what's happening on your budget, what's happening on your bank statements, and what are the options. And then what is the solution that best fits you.
Casper, now before we wrap it up, I know faith is something that is quite important to you, as it is to me as well. So please leave us with something encouraging from the word.
Absolutely. And today is not from our Proverbs. It's actually from James 1 verse 12.
Yo, for the first time ever. No proverb.
That's a
from
lie.
Casper.
You can't lie on air like that. So 1 James verse 12 says, blessed is the one who preserves under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life. That can feel like a heavy journey, but choosing to face it, to walk through it, that's where freedom comes. It's not always easy, but it is worth it. I often just go and read through our clients' Google reviews, although I read each one as they come into, but I read through them and I know where that person started. I know how hard it was for them to start. And I just feel so good to see them. Sometimes we get that, even that WhatsApp message in. Now, the other day, it might be almost a month ago, got this photo in. Look what I just got. The consumer bought a vehicle. They didn't ever thought they'll be able to afford their own vehicle. We got them through the process, got them rehabilitated, and that's so encouraging. You know where that person's journey started, where their struggle was, and where they were caught before they made that decision.
Yeah.
And now you see them at the end, and it's so amazing. So the immediate relief from paying the reduced amount towards your debt. So I think people are sitting in that stress crunch. Where am I going to get money for food? What am I going to do? And that immediate relief we see come through from when they apply with our process. From the very next payday, they pay the reduced installment. And then watching them through it, when we reduce the debts, when we tell them how much we've saved them over time, and finally they get that clearance certificate. They've gone through the journey, and the quicker they start, the sooner they say, I wish I did this a year ago. That's normally the comment we get. So it's so powerful, and it's so amazing. And James 1 verse 12 says exactly that. Blessed is the one who preserves under trial, because it is a trial. It's tough. Because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life.
Absolutely. Casper, powerful message today. And if someone wants to take that first step, what do they do?
Well, we are here to help. So call us on 086 100 1047. 086 100 1047. Or email us help@dcgsa.co.za. And I think the one that we see people tend to use the most is our WhatsApp number, 061 432 8499. 061 432 8499. And you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, like Mr. K says.
No.
So just search DCGsa. You'll find us on any of those socials. Let's start with a conversation and take the first step together. And remember, the free credit check and assessment does not sign you up for anything. But be wise. Know your status. Know where you are and know your options. Just do the debt assessment. It is so easy. You can come into our office or you can do it virtually online.
And there you have it. Listen, don't spend another year wondering. Take action today. All right? Now is the time. Casper, thank you so much. Always a pleasure. And have yourself a fantastic week ahead.
You too, Mr. K. Have a blessed one. And then I won't see you next week. I only see you the week after. So many public holidays.
We're in that public holiday phase now, heading towards the end of this month. Okay, see you in 2 weeks.
Have a blessed one. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Proudly brought to you by DC